Oh, hey! You guys, you always sneak up on me. Welcome to the Heavy Leather Horror Show, Home Edition, Quarantine, Week 6. By the way, don't worry too much about this. Turns out it's all made up. My name's Ken. I'm one of your hosts. And guess what, everybody? It's time for another episode of Witch Watch.
There's a white witch, there's a black witch, baby, which is a witch, which is a witch. There's a white witch, there's a black witch, baby, which is a witch, which is a witch.
This week, we are discussing 1976's The Devil's Kiss, aka La Perversa Caricia de Satan, or The Wicked Caresses of Satan. Sorry if I mangled that. It's directed by Jorge Gijo, or perhaps Gigo, or perhaps Gijo, not sure which. All of it, anyway, is a pseudonym for a guy whose actual name was Jorge Aznar. He was primarily a softcore porn director and hardcore porn producer, but he occasionally dabbled in horror, like this film, and the year previously when he wrote the screenplay for Paul Naschy's Exorcist ripoff, Exorcismo. The film, Devil's Kiss, stars Sylvia Solar, an actress and former beauty pageant contestant. She won Miss France 1956, who went on to make over 100 motion pictures, many of which people in our little world will probably be familiar with, including she made some giallo films like Killer Wore Gloves. She made some horror like Naschy's Night of the Howling Beast and like Eyeball, which is behind me. And she even made spy films like Danger Death Ray, which became, of course, the inspiration for the Canadian grunge surf band, Danger Death Ray. So, really, she's a very underrated cult actress who I think you will enjoy her work. She died, sadly, I think around the age 71, 72 in 2011. But I mean, who didn't? We all died a little bit in 2011, didn't we? All right, let's get to it. All right, as the movie opens, Claire Grandier, played by Solar, is a psychic, and she shows up at the Duke's estate, his mansion. He's having some kind of weird, sexy voodoo party that she is invited to. She comes in, he greets her, he calls her Countess. She goes, whoa, hold on. I'm not a Countess anymore. Don't call me Countess. Fuck off with the Countess stuff. And he says, okay. And then she goes to the party. So something's up there for sure. The Duke hired her to conduct a seance at the party. But before we get there, there's a groovy fashion show with lots of psychedelic rock music and lots of jumpsuits. And by the way, it's my favorite part of the movie. It's my aesthetic, 100%. If I could live in the world of 1976 psychedelic fashion shows, that's where I'd be right now. So they have the seance, and all of the Duke's snooty friends think it's a fake. Tell it to her right to her face. But not the Duke. The Duke believes in her, and he believes in her so much that afterwards he's like, you know what? You and your buddy, Professor Gruber, can stay here at my mansion and conduct whatever experiments you want, because I too want knowledge of the occult, and I would like to learn from you. And she says, okay. But it's a bad move for him, because that son of a bitch Duke is the reason that she's in the poorhouse in the first place. Because when the Count shot himself in the head, which we see in a flashback in the beginning, this guy, the fucking Duke, bought up all our stables. Because, they had horses. I guess that's how they made their money. And now she's broke. And so this whole thing is about revenge. She reveals her sinister plans right after that conversation to the audience.
Satan and Astaroth. They will help me to avenge the insults that Philippe and I have received. On the Book of Astaroth, I swear that this chateau will be cursed for centuries and centuries.
So, she wants to use the powers of Satan, and Professor Gruber wants to use science, albeit mad science. They find some way to compromise in the middle. and that involves going down to the graveyard to dig up a fresh corpse to experiment on. Crazily enough, the combination of hardcore Satanism and the crazy rejuvenation serum actually works. And so they are able to resurrect a Frankenstein zombie creature and send him out, and he immediately goes and strangles the Duke. Mission accomplished. For some reason, the cops don't suspect any kind of foul play. So life goes on at the mansion, just as it was. Duke's dead. His nephew, swinging fashion photographer guy, shows up, just takes over for things, and life goes on. But meanwhile, the zombie is still walking around, strangling all the help. By the way, the zombie bears a strong resemblance to Tor Johnson from Plan 9 from Outer Space, which makes him even less scary than he already is. Also, and I don't know how this happened, but everybody that the zombie strangles come back to life as zombies themselves and also go on murderous rampages. I mean, not the Duke, so there's a little inconsistency there, but certainly Loretta, the maid, she does. Things spiral out of control from there, but I mean, you've only got like 5 characters, so how out of control can it spiral, really? And that, in essence, is the plot, is the machinations of The Devil's Kiss. Now, this is a very unique motion picture. It operates on several different wavelengths at once. On the one hand, you've got the 1960s cobwebby, wandering through the mansion vibe, which I love very much. It's also got the 1970s hardcore satanic witch vibe, another one of my favorites. And it's also got the 1950s sort of mad scientist monster mash aura to it as well. So it's got all those things at once, and it's a very very strange and eerie film that works in its own universe, for sure. So as far as the hot witch factor goes, you've got Miss France, 1956, dressed in what essentially are proto Elvira sort of outfits. So no complaints from me there. However, I will say she really lets the professor and then the zombie do most of the work. In fact, the Satanism seems a bit like a placebo in this whole thing. But, revenge is revenge. So good for her. And she's a hot witch. All in all, a fun but dumb 70s Euro horror monster mash. You can find it on Blu-ray from Redemption, or it's streaming. I think it's on Amazon now for $1.99, and I think you can also see it on Tubi for free. Both of those seem like good prices to me. So check it out, everybody. The Devil's Kiss. And that's this week's Witch Watch. Until next week, please stay healthy, hail Satan, and stay at least 6 feet away from me. I'll see you next time on Witch Watch.